we go. And go ahead and do the general, just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Joye Oakley. This is my 30th year teaching, and I have taught off and on almost every grade there is. I started out life as a 9th grade journalism and English teacher in Kansas and came back to Oklahoma and taught in Oklahoma for another 6 years, taught English and journalism, started a family, which gave me the opportunity to advance my education, get my master's, start working on a doctorate degree. In that time, as my son grew up, I was able to work for the University of Oklahoma in the College of Education, and given a really neat opportunity to write a grant and open a school for homeless children in Oklahoma City. Positive Tomorrows is still there. It's still working, although it's not as connected with the Oklahoma City Public Schools as it was when I started it, because the goal was to get homeless students integrated into public school as quickly as possible. We just knew that in 1986 that was almost impossible. Then working with OU, I decided I wanted to get back into the classroom, so I came back to the public classroom in Norman and worked at Central Mid-High, then got a chance to teach 7th grade and open a new middle school, Alcott, and then get to transfer back to my beginnings, and that's 9th grade English. And so that's where I am. So I've come full circle in my 30 years, and I know that this is what I was meant to do. I love working with students, and I've always said the best teachers I ever had have been my students. They teach me something every single day. And the way I relate to those kiddos is to listen. Listening is the key. Listen to their informal chat. Listen to their angst. Listen to their happiness. Listen to what makes them smile. Listen to what makes them sad. I think the best teacher is a good listener and someone who will sincerely be open to students and their parents. Listening to their parents and letting the students know that we're a partnership, that I care as much as their parents. We're going to make sure they succeed, and we'll do whatever we can to do that. And that works best. That's a good philosophy. I don't demand respect, I try to earn it. And in turn, I find the kids do the same thing. They will treat me as respectfully as I treat them. So, one of the things that they note about me real fast is I'm not a yeller. They always say, if Oakley raises her voice, you have to listen because it must be something really serious, because I just don't do that. I laugh a lot. I try to make sure that I laugh a great deal. I smile, even when they irritate me to death. All I have to do is look at the humor and go, oh my gosh, they're 14. That was funny. I did the same thing. And be able to laugh about it and then tell them don't do it again. But laughing and humor, that's the best thing in the world to do. And that gets them so that they want to hear what I have to offer them. I find curriculum that I think they like. We're reading the novel Speak by Anderson right now. Kind of controversial because of the subject matter. But Anderson does such a good job with this topic, and it's written in a diary form. The narrator's a 9th grade girl. And I like the fact that when the kids first get the book, they go, oh, is this going to be a chick book? And then as they get into it, they realize it's not, that even the guys love this book. It offers a chance for me to sit back and say, remind me what it's like to be a 9th grader. And they love to tell me what it's like to be a 9th grader. And so they're understanding the novel because it's relatable. And it's pertinent. It's things in their life. It's family, it's school, it's friends, it's all of the things that surround their life. I look at curriculum that way. I also like to look at knowing these students have a goal. And when they leave me, they have to leave me with a certain amount of foundation. And I still think grammar is important. I tell them I think someday English will be the world language. And people who don't have English as their first language are going to speak English better because they're learning how to speak good grammar, using good grammar. I tell the students the more they read, the better they'll write. Read a variety of things and play with their writing just like they do with their style. The way they decide what they want to wear, they need to read and decide what they like to read. I try to keep a pretty open classroom. It looks pretty traditional. I have rows. And although sometimes we do put our chairs in groups, it's pretty much rows, but it's because I'm also a newspaper advisor, and I have computers that can't be moved around. So the logistics of my room can't be changed too much. But because we're still a get up and walk around type of a class, it's okay. I like seating charts because if for some reason I'm not here, I like that to give a substitute some control. They need to know who the students are. I may change a seating chart frequently, but I like seating charts. So I'm pretty traditional in my classroom management, but it seems to work. I don't have a lot of discipline problems. I think it's because, once again, I can laugh at some of the silly things that a 14-year-old does, and I can excuse some of it and let it be a teachable moment. I guess as a philosophy, I truly believe that students should guide the curriculum. Finding their starting points, find what they know, find the common knowledge, and build on that, and then go at their pace works much better. I've never been much of one to say, here's what you need to know, memorize this, let's have a test over it. If you make your good grade, then that's good. It needs to last. What I teach them, I tell them is a building foundation, that they're going to use it again. They're going to see what I'm giving them later. So rather than just focusing on just the goals, I've got to make sure that my students are getting there. And if they're not, I'll back up. I don't mind reteaching and reteaching and reteaching. I think if I need to, that's what I have to do. There's a certain amount of knowledge they have to have when they leave me. I'm shooting for the 10th grade into the instruction test that they'll have to have. We're the precursor to that. 9th grade has a great responsibility in making sure that when the students leave me, 10th grade can continue to build on that knowledge so that they'll pass that test and feel good about it. Now, testing isn't all that bad a thing. Students love it when they do well on the test. And one good way of building their cognitive egos is to give them tests that they can pass and let them pass. And they know if you're condescending. They know if it's too easy. If it's a difficult test, if they had to study for it and they pass it, there's nothing like it. They feel so good about themselves. And that is what I like. I love the proverbial light bulb going on. When I see that light bulb shining all over the room coming on and people going, oh, okay, so that's what that is. That's exciting. And that feeds me also. It makes me keep going. If I'm looking out at my students, they're all about ready to fall out of their chairs, then I know I got to stop. And probably I am too. So reading body language is so important. As long as they're engaged, then I'm engaged. And I keep them going, and I kind of have a feeling if I can keep them going, it's just a cycle that just continues on and on. You know, I guess when I look back on my 30 years and I think about my mentor teachers, and I've been awfully lucky, I've had some awfully good mentor teachers, I think probably some of the best advice I ever got, just to smile, just to laugh. Don't forget to let the kids see you laugh. Let the kids know that everything will be okay. That there's nothing so bad that at this point in their life that they can't overcome. To be positive goes so much further than scolding a student or reprimanding. If it's all viewed as a teachable moment, I see great progress. And I think that's why my students do well. I tell the students their number one job, their number one assignment for me after they leave me is that they have to come back and tell me what I did right or what I did wrong. They love to do that. They love to come back and go, you know, when you made us write all those sentences and find all the grammar errors, you know how much we hated it? Well, yes. We'll keep doing it. They'll say, now I'm glad. I just took the PSAT, and a third of that test was grammar. Thanks for doing that. Hated it, but thanks for doing it. Or, you really don't need to spend so much time on this. We're not focusing on this so much anymore. And I like hearing that from my students. I like it too when they come back and go, you know that handout you had on ethos, pathos, and logos? I need it. I lost it, and I want it again. And I always listen to them. I've never taught 2 years the same way, ever. Not any of the 30 years look the same. That's weird. I hadn't even really thought about that. But I guess that's really true. I don't know that I could ever do that. It's not starting over every year. It's just molding and shaping and just making it, tweaking it, so that every year is a little better. I remember how hard those first couple of years are. And so I knew that because I had good mentors, one of my main responsibilities is not just to the kids, but also to mentor teachers, new teachers coming in, and helping any way I can to help them understand they're going to have good days and bad days, and they're going to survive. And if they are, in the words of Joseph Campbell, if they're truly doing what they're meant to do, they'll find their bliss, and the bliss will be teaching. And that's what motivates them to come every single day, even when they're not feeling well, even when their life isn't just perfect. They keep coming to school because the kids make them happy. Mine sure make me happy. What else do you want to know?
I'd love to know your best time-saving trick.
You know, my best time-saving trick as far as grading papers, which seems to be an English teacher's nightmare, is to let the students do as much of the grading as possible. That means most of my time is put in on building good rubrics. And if a kid really and truly understands the rubric and has decided at what level on that rubric do I want to achieve, it should be real easy to, and much less time consuming for me once I get a paper or once I'm grading something. That rubric is what saves me. And the kids are pretty good about helping design those rubrics.
Something you do better than anyone else.
And I don't know what I do better than anybody else. Everything I do is just so joyful. It's just that. I'm just Joye Oakley, and I love teaching and I love the kids, and I would like to think that on just a social level, I appeal to the affective domain better than a lot of people, because kids keep coming back to me. I don't know at what point I became mama, but I know at some point I also have become grandma. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think responding to kids and being able to address their affective needs is every bit as important as affecting their cognitive needs. And so I think I do pretty well with that. I think I get along with the kids very well. And I think that's what you have to do first. Is if they're not buying into me a little bit, they're not going to hear what I have to say. So that may mean I have to wear fairy wings when I'm teaching Midsummer Night's Dream, or I may have to put on donkey ears or something. But if that gets their attention, that's fun, and they enjoy it. You know, I'm so old guard. Sometimes I wonder if I'm losing touch. But you know, in education, I've always, and I've only seen him once, but if I could sit down and interview Harry Wong and go in and watch him teach in his classroom, I think I could say I've completed my education. And one of the things that he said that I always remembered was, you know, I never came up with anything original. Everything I have, I borrowed, or a mentor showed me how to do it. And he said there's no need to reinvent the wheel every year. That the wheel's been invented and it's perfected. All we do is just hone it and bring it up to date. And that's such good advice for me. That's kind of what I see too. I get real frustrated when people want to, let's throw this out and start all over. Let's reinvent the wheel and see how it rides, when I want to say, you know, the wheel's there. All we need to do is decide how to make it better. And I think that's personality. You know, people ask, I guess Marzano in his teaching being an art and a science, yeah, it definitely is. It certainly is an art and a science. And what I sometimes worry about is if too much pressure is put on a teacher and the first thing they start chipping away is the art. That the science seems to be what's important, the quantitative data. Deliver the data. How are the kids doing, and give us the data to prove it. I think we forget about the qualitative data. I think they forget that data is every bit as important as quantitative. And the science is important. The how to do things is important. Certainly. The process is part of what my goals are. But I also think we don't want to mess with the art. And every teacher's art is different. And that's where I try to encourage the new teachers with which I get to work. I try to tell them, be creative. Just try it. And if it fails, don't do it again. But try. Be creative. Try different things. I had one particular year where it just seemed like the students kept saying, why do we learn this? Why are we doing this? And I wanted a button that said, don't ask me why. Ask me how. Because that's teaching the process. And if I can teach them the how, they'll figure out the why. The why will be personal to every kid. So anytime I ever heard a child say, why am I doing this? I always just want to turn the question around to them. Well, why are you here? Why do you want to learn this? Don't ask me why. I can't answer why, but I can sure answer the how. I think the process, the science is very important. But I just certainly think equally important is the art. And there's some wonderful, wonderful ideas out there. Wonderful new teachers trying some wonderful new things. I just hope they share.